welcome to the mill. Today's going to be one of those update videos, so I'm going to go over probably first this week's live cast a little bit and then look at the progress chart that came out right, I think it was like April 29th, April 30th, and then after that I'll leave the kind of tariff update for last. So if you're one of those people who's kind of like in the I need to put my head in the sand for a little bit mode, I'll leave that for the end so you can kind of turn off if you need to. But first, this week on the live cast, we had a few updates. One, if you were lucky enough to go to Geekway to the West this week, I'm very jealous. I've gone the last 2 years and just couldn't make it happen this year. But they were going to have a copy of Vantage out by their booth. So one, if you were there and got to see it, would love to hear how it looked, how it played, because it sounded like how it was going to work was it was going to be out there and people could take kind of like a single turn, get a feel for it. They were going to have all the upgrade components there that you could potentially purchase when it goes live this summer. And it just sounded like a really cool way to show off the game. So if you got to see it, let us know. And if you didn't go to Geekway and you start seeing some pictures pop up of Vantage, that's probably why. It's because people got to see it at Geekway for a little bit. No full games, it sounded like, but a lot of gain a taste of it. So hope everyone had fun with that. That is still slated for this summer. Hopefully it's going to leave China soon. Very exciting. So if you did that, awesome. And then the other thing people asked about on the live cast in regards to Vantage, they were asking if the playmats would fit in the box. Jamie's comment was they should fit in the box. You just might get a little lid lift. So if that doesn't bug you at all, I know personally I don't mind a little lid lift. That's just kind of part of it. Then you should be good. But I'm thinking just because of how you have that 9-card grid, I think those playmats might be really nice. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting some of those. The other thing that some people were kind of commenting on is Terra Mystica, a non-Stonemaier game, is finally going to get their kind of fan-made or designer-made factions out, which a long time ago, Jamey had made one. It's been on Board Game Arena. I believe he did the Atlanteans, I think. Might be a little wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. So he has one that's actually in there. So some people were getting excited about seeing his Terra Mystica faction kind of actually in print. And then last Sunday's video people were talking about. So last Sunday, Jamey posted a video on kind of steps. Let me see. A video on designing your first game and kind of some of those steps in that process. And a lot of people found it really informative. I personally, not into the game design thing. I enjoy playtesting, tweaking, and just playing in general. But a lot of people found it helpful, and it seemed like a really neat video. So if you're interested in game design or maybe dipping your toe in it, Jamey had a really good video for his Sunday video last week. All right, next, I'm going to leave what he said about the tariffs for the tariff section at the end of the video here. But I'm going to do the progress chart before I get to that. So progress chart is... I like to print these. So obviously we have Tokaido is in, Vantage is in, print and assemble. So it is really getting close to being ready to leave. The Wingspan fan design bird pack. Ooh, that one's gonna be fun. That is, let's see, the computer it's in graphic design, so that's moving along rather quickly. That was kind of a new piece that Jamey mentioned, and now it's on the progress chart. So it is happening. We are gonna get fan design bird pack for Wingspan. I'm looking forward to that. Wormspan expansion is in components. So that's where its yellow dot is. Tokaido Duo is also in components. Codename Cape is in pre-production. So everything I have mentioned right now says 2025. So they all are either Q question mark or Q4. Vantage technically says Q3. All right, so that is where all of those are. Those are 2025. Though it's not on here, Jamey has mentioned that the Tokaido expansions, it sounds like they're hoping towards the end of 2025. So it's not on the chart, but I'd say that's probably a maybe as well as we get those Tokaido expansions. All right, Wingspan 4 is currently in blind playtesting and solo design, so that's exciting. Finspan expansion 1 is in blind playtesting now. Ooh. Codename Deep is in graphic design. Expeditions Expansion 2 is in solo design. Yep, solo design. Codename Bone is also in solo design. Codename Lost is still in blind play testing and solo design. And Codename Keys is still in the design process. So kind of a lot of things going on there. Some exciting stuff. Still a lot for 2025. So it's looking to be a good year. So that's the progress chart. The next thing that Jamey did a blog this week on, which, speaking of all these expansions we see for the Span universe, he did, oh, hello, kitty. This is Cressida, if you haven't met her before. You want to say hi? I am Cressida, warrior princess. She's named after a Shakespeare character who was a warrior princess. So she's going to tell us about the blog on precarious balance between past successes and future expansions. So I thought this was a really interesting blog that Jamey did. He said it was a topic that's more geared towards publishers who have at least like 5 years of experience kind of in an industry, because it's not just tabletop games really, but that focus on, well, we've had success with this, do we build on it, or do we go for straight just complete new ideas? Because he's mentioned in that post and in previous conversations that every day it's like he has people asking, when's the next Wingspan expansion, Wormspan, Finspan? Like, people are excited about all three. They've all been successful and people want more. But in the same breath, in those same conversations, he gets told he's just making them for a cash grab. So I'm sure it's very difficult from a publisher's point of view, and that's a lot for someone to take on when you have this diverse group of people who love what you do and they want different things. And so this article is kind of going into that balance of, what do I do for those who want more and what do I do for those who want new? And when you look down, he actually broke it down. So I'm going to just go over I'm not going to name every game, but he was looking at data since 2019. Since 2019, they've had 9 new original titles and 4 sequel spinoffs. So they definitely are making more original. Also within that time span, they've kind of had 4 update or essentials editions. That's something like Libertalia and Tokaido, which they kind of put back into circulation, and then how they did the essentials editions for Between Two Castles and Between Two Cities. So they've done some of that as well. But they do put out a lot of new content. They also try to help those who also love what they already have. So, interesting blog post. That was from this past week. If you want to look at that, it's on the Stonemaier website. All right. This is the point where I'm going to move into the tariff updates. So if you want to kind of know what Jamey has been talking about this week in regard to tariffs, I'm going completely on like his notes, very news reporter. This is what we saw. And then if you want to keep going, stay with me. If not, it was great to see ya. So first, Jamey kind of had an interview / article with Business Insider. So he's been in a lot of kind of big news pieces lately. But this Business Insider one, as Business Insider put it, was they had it as told to essay. So based on a conversation with Jamey. So they kind of made an essay like it's him based on their conversation with him. So it was kind of an interesting style of writing for news. So I'm gonna give you some of the highlights from there, and also a lot of those kind of were repetitious with what Jamey said on the live cast. So if I looked at my notes a little bit more to get numbers and quotes right, sorry, but that's kind of where this is. It's kind of going over that article mixed with some of what Jamey said from the live cast. So Jamey started off with saying that when the 20% tariff started in March, they weren't happy. It's a lot of money still, but that's something you can weather. And then obviously we know things fluctuated a lot and very quickly since March. And so he talks about kind of the different parts of the design process for them and the creative process for Stonemaier games, and how China has the industry built for these custom game components that it just doesn't exist in the US. And that's where a lot of these problems come into play. Also, 65% of their games are usually shipped to the US because that's their biggest market. So that's also where a future problem is here. And he keeps emphasizing that it's his company, all these companies, they're the ones paying the tariffs. So they're hurting the American companies. All right, so he gave it for instance. So far they've paid $5,000 on a small shipment that came in when tariffs were at the 20%. And then that he brings up in that article that we're not at 145% right now, but when it was at 145%, if all of that was put on the consumer, your $65 Wingspan game would be almost $200. So, guessing a lot of people don't want to pay $200 for Wingspan. They have a 250,000 unit run that's supposed to ship out soon. So if you don't already know, there was a 90-day pause that happened, I believe it was earlier this week. I guess when you're watching, it'll be last week. That dropped from 145 to 30%. And so now it's only 30%, but that's still a ton of extra money. Plus, Jamey kind of brought up in the live cast that, yes, that's dropped, which maybe is more manageable, but now everyone's trying to get their stuff out of China. So prices on freight shipping are going up. There's going to be congestion at the ports. So yes, it went down, but it's still bad. And now there's a whole nother problem. So blah. We'll just go with that. Right now, glad I'm not I'm only adjacently reporting about stuff in the industry, because that just sounds like a math mess to me. All right. So Jamey's also brought up in that article how he's seen a wide range of reactions. Obviously, especially if you're watching this, we're obviously Stonemaier fans here. All right. We don't hide that. We are Stonemaier fans who get the sponsorship from Stonemaier Games for our content. So we're very biased of that. And so I'm guessing if you watch this consistently, you're probably a fan of Stonemaier, or you don't mind them at all. But he's getting mixed reactions on a lot of his articles, especially his suing the president article, just from usually it's support, people want to help out, but he's also had very, very negative responses too. So kind of a reminder of, we don't know everybody's perspective, so kindness is awesome, especially right now. And getting to know your facts and looking at your sources. Sorry, English teacher coming out. So know your sources, know what's really going on. All right. What he has done, and he brought this up in the article and in the live cast, is what he's done. He's kind of given himself more of a design challenge. He's not saying by any means he's making or shifting kind of design, but he is kind of making his own little personal design challenge. What if I had to make games in the US? And so he says it's interesting from a design perspective, but it's also creatively limiting. And kind of what you can grasp from that is the United States can make cards. So you're talking about small box card games for the most part if you're manufacturing in here, or card games in general. So he's using it as a design challenge. So maybe something will come from it, maybe not. We have no idea. But the other problem still happening is, since this is a 90-day pause and we really don't know because things change so often, and this is the time when people are making holiday orders. So we said it's probably going to lead to a modest holiday run for things because they have to put those orders in now to get manufactured in time. Unfortunately, this might be something we see across many businesses, not just board games. So this is supposed to be holiday run time. There's a good chance there are very modest holiday runs right now. So yeah, there are old problems, new problems, and everything in between. But that kind of sums up the Business Insider article and with a combination of what Jamey also highlighted in the live cast. So I hope that was informative and helpful. If you need more information, it's that he had an article in Business Insider this week. He's had many interviews and articles everywhere, really, the past few weeks. So you can probably look up Jamey Stonemaier and tariffs on Google and find quite a bit if you need more info or want more info. So yeah, as I said, be nice, be kind, help each other out, and play some board games because it's nice to escape into those sometimes. and we'll see you next week on the mill. Bye.